Let's dive into X402 because I think this is one of the things I really want to do with this show is look around corners a little bit. And obviously, the market is constantly looking around corners, though it looks like they have like a 2-week time window as we just want to rotate capital into the next hot thing every single. I mean, 2 weeks seems generous, quite frankly. But I think clearly the two big waves that are being surfed out there by technology companies right now are AI. I think almost north of 50% of VC funding has gone into the AI category over the last year. And now I think crypto is clearly back in that wave, though I think we probably would argue that it's always been in this wave. Just maybe it's a little bit of a smaller wave. And so it seems like X402 is like a place where these things come together. So wondering if we just want to kick it off with a little bit of a description of what it is so we can sort of set the ground rules here.
For sure, yeah. I would call X402 the most boring piece of technology to be invented in the last 10 years. X402 is an incredibly simple standard, intentionally so. It's also attempting to pay off about 30 years worth of tech debt on the internet. And so we've had the internet or the World Wide Web, as we know of it. We all think like the internet and World Wide Web are now synonyms. That didn't used to be the case. But we've had HTTP and these kind of like low-level standards we all use constantly every day for about 30 years. And the original sin of the internet is that you couldn't transmit value on the internet. We figured out how to transmit data and information, but not value. And so what X402 tries to do is solve the how do you send value between computers in a standardized way problem. And so this is not the first attempt to solve this problem. Mark Andreessen spent a bunch of time on this back in the Netscape days. This is Coinbase's third attempt to solve this problem, by the way. I'm just the most recent person within Coinbase to try. There's actually a Wired article from 2015 about Brian Armstrong trying to solve this with Bitcoin. Balaji Srinivasan tried in like 2016. It's a long-standing problem on the internet that you just can't send money between computers.
What did they get wrong?
I think primarily the tech wasn't ready yet. It's like at the time you just had Bitcoin as the like settlement layer of value. Because what do you need in order to actually be able to move money at internet speeds? You need something that settles quickly. You need something that is open access where anyone can participate. And Bitcoin's great, it's open access, but it doesn't settle instantly. It settles in 10 minutes. And so imagine waiting 10 minutes to check out on Shopify or load a web page, right? This just doesn't work. And so now we have L2s and stable coins and mechanisms of value that don't like fluctuate a ton day to day. And money can move at the speed of the internet, not at the speed of, the Bitcoin blockchain.
Okay, so I feel like we got stable coins, blockchains, wallets, etc. Help me understand sort of like the stack here that's enabling X402.
So the interesting thing about X402 that breaks people's brains is that intentionally tries not to be opinionated about a stack.
Okay.
Right. And so X402 works with Solana, with Base, with USDC. The goal is for it to work with any token on any network, including even fiat networks. Like I don't think X402 should exclusively be a crypto thing. It just happens to be that I think at this point, L2s and L1s, fast L1s and stablecoins are the best money movement mechanism on the planet. And you see this with all these companies trying to adopt stablecoins. And so I think inevitably X402 will be dominated by stablecoin transactions, but at the end of the day, the goal is to move value, right? And the underlying network, the underlying mechanism, the underlying currency is just an implementation detail of trying to achieve that goal.
So I noticed on the website you had this great line, which is one line of code to $100, which gives me flashbacks to like the early Stripe days. Is that sort of the competitive set that you would kind of put this in? Like, are we competing with traditional payment processors here like Stripe?
I don't necessarily think so. I think it's like to some degree a fundamentally different thing. I think of X402 as something that hasn't actually had an incumbent before. Like if you look at what it is, like X402 is comparable to like HTML or CSS, right? It's not a company, it's not an entity, it's not a payment network. It's simply a standard for marking up data and exchanging information on how to transmit value. And so there's no fees, there's nothing. It's literally like a standard for how do you respond with JSON via HTML. And then consensus and community building around like, hey, everyone should transmit this in this format. And then when you receive this, you do this in order to send the value.
Got it. Interesting. So it literally is just a line of code then, like, and then building the sort of the ecosystem and consensus around that such that it is a, I guess I'm curious, what is the, you need to go convince people to integrate this into their apps, into their websites, into their workflows. What is the pitch there, and or what is like the barrier to people doing that today?
The pitch is, hey, your server can now accept money from any browser or script someone wrote or AI agent. And there's no fee. You simply receive money and it's great. And you should just do this because why not? It's would you like to make more money, and would you like to have something where AI agents can pay you and be part of the next like phase of the internet? I think there's like, it's kind of a miracle that the internet works the way that it does. Like if you think about it, all these companies disagree about everything, except that they should probably use HTML and CSS and HTTP to write their websites. There's no one out here being like, no, I have proprietary HTML format that you must download a special browser in order to use my content.
Not since the Flash days, baby.
Exactly. There's no like Microsoft Silverlight at this point, right?
God.
It's all just open standards, and so really it's X402 is just an open standard for how to transmit value. That's all it is.
All right. And I think we're going to make this feel a lot more real as we talk to some of the folks that are building on it. But I want your comment on, because in my mind, X402 is like the agentic payment network. I think that's maybe being a little too specific compared to how you sort of introduced it here today. So it's been helpful for me to sort of zoom out a little bit. But what makes this particularly useful in an agentic world?
I think that people mistake the fact that agents are actually while loops with like an LLM calling them. Like what an agent actually is literally a loop that goes and does token inference against some LLM and then maybe calls some tools. But fundamentally, it's just code. And you have this issue with LLMs that they've gotten really good, but they're still probabilistic data structures. Like the LLM isn't guaranteed to do the same thing over and over and over again, which is why, we had this whole era maybe 6 months ago of people releasing like browser control agents and things that would like try to like operate a browser for you. And that's great, but they're like a little lossy. They don't work 100% of the time. If you ever watched an agent try to fill out a credit card form, like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And so what X402 allows you to do is create deterministic ways of having your agent pay for stuff. So you can just give your agent a tool that says like, hey, pay for content, pay for website, and it'll just work every time via tool calling rather than it, needing access to your credit card in the context window and then trying to fill out a form online.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's a whole discussion there, but I think maybe the best thing for us to do is to pull up Bob Zhu here from QuestFlow, because this is very, very relevant to sort of the agent. I guess agent swarms are kind of the core here of QuestFlow. So maybe we can dive in with some specific examples.
Yeah, the thing I'd just add is whenever you're introducing a new technology, it needs to be 10x better or have a motivating use case for why to introduce it. And so it's significantly easier to get something that edits the internet when there's like a huge incumbent force of these agents trying to being a new actor in the ecosystem than just, your random Tuesday.
yeah, you got to surf the wave that are sort of unlocking new use cases, behaviors, desires. So it makes a ton of sense.